Hello again, everyone. It is another fine day of painting today. I am Ted Simpson, Certified Bob Ross Instructor, and let's do something crazy and fun here. I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen, but we'll have fun doing it, I hope. Let's see here. I've got landscape 16 by 20 style here, and I've got a few brushes and paints laid out here. I might need to get some more. As we go through, I can already see a couple of colors that I'm going to use on here that I don't have on my palette yet. But once again, first step here is putting a little bit of liquid white out on the canvas. And I just make some little crisscross strokes, and we'll make sure it looks like my mic is working. It is August of 2023. And it's a beautiful day here. Wouldn't really know it because I'm down here in my basement studio where it's a little cooler in this hot weather. I hang out in the basement to do my painting. And it's been a while since I've been with you guys out there on the YouTube. So I'm trying to make up for lost time here. Picking up some liquid white from these areas that have plenty on it, bringing it down into the areas that don't have much. Let's see what we got here. It's lots and lots. Back and forth strokes. Let's see, I'm picking up a little bit of wet paint from the previous painting here. That's nothing. That's nothing that's going to affect us here today. Wipe off most of the excess paint. I think what we're going to do here is have some yellows up in our sky here today. So I got a little bit of Indian yellow here, maybe a touch of cadmium yellow if it sneaks in there. That's okay. And let's just go ahead, drop some in, crisscross strokes, let that paint mix with the liquid white and get lighter here and there. Oh man. There we go. I'm forcing myself to get some down here in the water today. So often I don't get it low enough here. We don't end up seeing any of the yellow in our reflections of the water. Let's see, right off the bat here, I'm going to come over and I've got my bright red. I need a little bit of bright red here today. So I do have a dirty palette going on from the earlier painting. I have to do another painting. I had so much paint left over. It doesn't keep forever here, so I'm going to come in here and take just a wee bit. It does not take much. Beat a little bit of this bright red up in there. Raise my brush just here and there, overlapping the yellow a little bit. Maybe I'm going to have a little bit of red down here in the water as well. Pull that horizontally. Just so I can get some fun stuff there. A little bit more yellow. Scrubbed out most of the paint out of the brush, and now I'm just going to dance this brush right over the red. Let it blend in with the Indian yellow here and there. Let some of it disappear, but some of it will remain. All right. I'm going to continue blending and softening this, and you know, we can always dance in a little bit of bright red wherever you want. Once you're happy, then we'll move on. I'm going to take just a little bit. Oh, it does not take much. We're trying to go for this nice soft pastel looking sky here. So a little bit of the phthalo blue worked in, just barely covering the bright red. You can always darken it, you know, if you don't like it that light, come back here with a little bit more and drop it in. Maybe even a touch more. I'm just trying to be very conservative with it so I don't overdo it. I'm beating the heck out of this, getting it all worked into the brush so there's not chunks of it in parts of the brush. There it is. That's a little nicer. See that? It's more about just keeping the brush moving. Change the pressure, you can move the paint. You lighten up the pressure, and it just softens and takes out those harsh brush marks. There we go. I think while we have some of that in there, take a little bit more. Work it. Let's go ahead and get in a little bit of a blue down here. Long strokes here and there. Trying to stay out of the yellow. I want to see some of that, right? Get a little bit over the red. I almost said crimson. It's the bright red. There we go. Now we'll clean the old brush here. Make sure that we get paint thinner all worked into the bristles. Take out all the paint and let's wrap it. Oof, that was a good one. That was an extra one. A couple more on the easel just for our Bob tribute. And let's see here. Just going to soften this water a little. I think that's about it. Let me give that brush another quick wash. Okay, what is next? The light shining on the canvas is a little bit brighter. So it looks like there's some white areas here. It's not as strong with natural light. So what we're going to do here is let's make up a color. I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white, a good piece of alizarin crimson, and just a little bit of phthalo blue. We're going to make our lavender color. Just mix those together, scrape it all up. Make sure you get all that excess off the knife so you don't have any of those streaks of unmixed paint. It's a pretty nice looking color. Let's lighten it up just a little more. Not bad. Clean the old knife, and let's come in here with our fan brush. I'm using a small fan brush here, but it doesn't really matter if you got a big one or a small one. And let's see here. I think that just gonna make just some little indications here of some background hills. As long as we have a clean outside edge, that's the main thing. We don't really care what's going on the inside. Just trying to make a nice clean outside edge here. You could use the knife if you really wanted to sharpen it up. When you're doing this, try to figure out what parts of the sky you like and let each color shine through in its own way. I'm just going to bring some of that color down now. Not really adding any more. Just moving the color down a little bit. Cleaning up the outer edge where it needs it. There we go. Doesn't take too much. Let's come back here and let's use the 1-inch brush. What I'm going to do here is just try to keep that edge nice and clean. Bring some of this color down. See here, just by moving the brush, spread and maneuver that purple. You start to get these shapes coming here. Bringing some of it down to the left, some to the right. Let it just fade into that yellow. If this helps you here, put your hand up. We want to see some reflections of the sky and create some misty effects here. As this purple blends away, you start to see these hills are kind of in front of each other, behind each other. Doesn't really matter. You decide which ones are the main peaks, which ones are in front, which ones are behind. It's always a little easier to do the ones in behind first. It just makes it look all different there, and all sorts of different effects. Bringing that color from top down. The more you go over it, the softer it blends. Even this little guy here, maybe that one's in front. We don't really know. You decide when you're doing it. That's where it will be. Now this isn't the final step. We're just getting started here. I'm going to clean up my brush, just wrapping it on the easel, or you can give it a stir into the paper towel. And now I'm going to focus on the bottom, focusing on softening the bottom first. Take that step back. How much more do you really need to go over it? That's the question you need to answer for yourself here. You know, the more you go over it, the lighter and yellower in this case it's going to get. Just let it happen. Look at all these little misty things going on. And sometimes you can come back here and yeah, you can strengthen it up a little bit. Let's add a little something right here. Take our brush, soften it to the right, to the left. And look at that. We can add little extra chunks in there if it needs it. Little more crags and hollows and light areas, dark areas. At some point, though, you're going to start taking too much paint off and you'll start seeing the white canvas come through. So be warned. Be warned. Now, I'm going to come up here and grab just a little bit more blue. Ooh, it doesn't take much. Ooh, was that too much? I hope not. Just a bit more blue to make it slightly darker. And let's just come in and cut off the mist. Let's define where this next little thing is here. Maybe there'll be a little bump right there. All I'm doing is laying on the paint, getting a nice clean edge. Bringing some of that color out so I can move it. Tell you what, this time I'm going to use a clean, dry 2-inch brush. Sure that it's dry. I'm going to try to move all of it one step at a time, not really focusing on the same area again and again. Let's move it all first. There we go. Now, because we use that Indian yellow and a little bit of crimson with our lavender, hopefully we're not going to make green. And if we use those colors as a kind of a barrier, Indian yellow instead of cadmium yellow, a little crimson with our purple, those act as a barrier to making green. Isn't that nice? Softly blending. Got a basic angle here, but if I hit it at a different angle, it'll take those streaks that are like this and make them disappear. Changing the direction of your blend will soften it. I don't want to drag it there. I don't want to see streaks coming this way. So it's just a delicate touch. You figure out the touch that you need. And there we go. Once again, think we want to add a little something here. Just a little more. Just a little more. That's it. That's it. These are all the happy accidents occurring. Now you don't really know what's going to happen. Don't really know to do that. Soften some of that away. There we go. Look at that. We just took that right away. Oh, I like that. I step back a little bit. I like it even more. Let's see now. Let's take. Oh, what head. I haven't done this in a while. Let's take this big old 1-inch round brush and let's make up another color here. This lavender color and then the darker bluish violet color. We don't need it anymore. If it's got the white in it, it's going to bug us. So let's stay away from that. Let's go ahead and make a darker purple with no white in it and just a touch of brown. Let's see if that does it. I'm using the small knife for this technique, but you can feel free to use the large knife. It doesn't really matter. Wipe both sides of your knife. I'm going to add just a touch more brown. I want to dull this down. I don't want it so blue. Maybe even a touch of the bright red. Get a little more purple black feel to it. So a little bright red and blue. Make that lavender color. Purple. And then the brown dulls everything down. Tell you what, touch of the green too. I don't really have any clean sap green, but I had a little bit. So just a touch of green just helps dull everything. Okay. Mix this all up. Wipe the knife before setting it aside. Tap a little color into the brush. Now we get to decide here where all these little things lie, hang out. Just turning the brush, like tapping around. not moving my brush this way or that. I'm tapping kind of like around the clock face, if that makes sense. And as long as these are distinctly darker than the previous layer, they're going to look, oh, so much more close to us. And if they're not dark, just go over them again, like I am here. Tapping. Getting it nice and dark. Some of them are taller, some of them are shorter, something like that. Now, clean brush. Let's create some mist here. Let's jam in that brush. You can turn the brush this way. I didn't want to drag it too far down, so I turned the brush a little like this. Or if you're worried about it, you can always come back and you can use the 1-inch brush. The idea here is we're softening the bottom and creating a little misty layer once again. Put your hand up there so you can kind of see what's going on. What we're trying to create here. We're working our way down, so we don't really care really too much what's going on there. And let's see, if you wanted to get a little bit more mist, I tapped into just a little bit of white. Look at that. We can immediately lighten things up. Just a little bit of white in there. These canvases I got are awfully tight, which helps with the springiness. You hear that? Springiness is a good thing. It helps us out. That liquid white is still underneath everything. So as we tap it, everything is getting mixed in. That liquid white's doing its job and creating some light areas. And then, let's see here. We might have to go right on over to that 2-inch brush just to do this relatively quickly here. We're going to create some land. So I'm tapping. Look at the lay of the land Bob talks about here. We're tapping and just following some structure here. Our land is going to be fairly flat. We might lose a lot of this water. It's okay. As long as we can see where our stuff's going to be hanging out here, we're good to go. I think that's pretty good. Maybe lower this just a tad. Okay. And while we got that going, let's go ahead and turn some of it into reflection. Go. Pull some of that down. If it needs to be a little darker, just get a little bit in there. And then what I like to do is knock off some of the excess paint. I just swirl and stir into a paper towel and then very lightly go across here and there. There we go. Sometimes you need to strengthen it up. That's okay. Pull it down vertical, then brush horizontal. We can always come back and tap in our land if it gets a little too much. We turn most of it into reflection. Always put a little more in. Always go over this multiple times until you get the effect that you like and find out the lay of the land that makes you happy. I like that. I like this little inlet right there. So I'll try to keep that there as we go through the painting. All right. Let's see here. I think before I jump into too much more, let me get a little bit of that green. And I think we'll make up a little bit more of the dark. We'll need some here before the day is out. And while I'm doing that, let's go ahead and mix up a little bit more of that. So that was red and blue and brown, a touch of green. Got some of this mountain mixture here, which has a lot of those colors already built in. We'll just add some of those to it. Just some nice, super dark, dull, shadowy color. It's got a lot of the same colors as the sky, and it just helps create our color palette of the day. Using the same colors for different objects in our painting, let's just tie them all together. It just looks really nice, and it makes everything a little easier too. I think here, before I do too much more, I'm going to get a little bit of yellow out on my palette. Now we can create some detail. Ooh. Drop that hat down into my trash can. Okay, let's see here. We've got our fan brush here. I'm going to give it a quick swirl in the paint thinner and dry it completely. And let's put a little evergreen in there. Bob did it in the painting I'm referencing here. So why not do it? Let's make one a little bit, just breaking the plane of our two foothills here. Tapping, tapping, tapping. Just making a dark shape, and it comes right on down. Oh, it's going to hang out right at the border there. You see that? It's a little bit darker, a little bit closer to us. See this little grassy stuff right there. Super simple. And let's go ahead and highlight that. Why not? A little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. This is the liquid white. Liquid white, cadmium yellow, and a little bit of the sap green. Maybe just a touch more. I know we only have one tree there, but we gotta have enough paint so that it comes off very easily for us. Lots of color. If you want it right on the tips of the bristles, you can just give it a quick little tap and get it right out there. Okay, let's just say tap, tap. Even more paint. Didn't come off as clean as I like, so I'm going to load even more paint so I can get a little bit more of a frowning look to it. There we go. Maybe the sun is catching it a little bit more. There we go. And with most of the paint out of the brush, I just give it maybe pick up a little bit of the Indian yellow. Give it a little upward push. Create some little effects there. Ooh, I do like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to take, I only have a little bit of titanium white left here. Let's see if it's enough. Touch of a purple or touch of a bright red. I am going to need a little bit more of the white. Let's play around with this. I want just some kind of interesting color here. It's some reflections of the sky. Touch of brown. Ooh, lots of stuff going on here. A little bit more red. Touch of the blue. Cut off a roll of paint that's got all those colors laid in there. Okay? Now, before I use that, let's see. I'm going to come in here with a little bit of the liquid white. Get some of this going back and forth in my 1-inch brush. Come over here, get a little bit of the green. Maybe even a little more green. Getting lots of paint right up there. You know, I work it back and forth to collapse those bristles. And then I give it a little, almost like a little snow plow. Get it right up there on the tips. So that I can come up and create a little bright grass. Just tapping with the tips of the bristles. You can create some nice reflections of the sky as we're tapping in our grass. Change the color here and there. Then what I'm going to do with that roll of paint that I did add to the knife is I'm just going to scrape very gently and lay some of this in. Almost like, oh, there's a little bit of dirt here, but it's dirt that's catching the light. So it's going to have some of those reflections, reflected colors. I'll change it up here. I added just a touch more of the dark sienna here and there. So as I'm going through, it's picking up some of the dark color and some of the light color. You get to decide here. You want, how pink do you want it? Do you want it more brown? More pink? That's fine. Just lay it on here and you go over it a couple of times. You can make this super soft. You can make it kind of like mountain craggy, you know, that all those little nooks and crannies like this. If you don't like that, you just keep working it and it'll all smooth out until it almost disappears completely. So you get to decide which way you want to do that. Let's do a little bit more right up here. This is interesting. This is fun. This is just variations on a technique here, and you get to decide what colors work for you. Okay? I would just suggest have lots of colors. It doesn't really matter what. Just have some in there. And a little bit of that dark undercolor, that bluish tone, that can remain. It doesn't all need to get covered up. There we go. All right. Now, where's my large knife? I think we're going to go ahead and put a cabin in. What do you say? Our cabin going to be hidden away behind some trees here, so we don't have to worry about the back half of the cabin. That's going to get kind of covered up here. So let's first drop a little bit of foliage behind the cabin, just to say we did, right? Trying to figure out the placement of this bushy tree here. Doesn't really matter. If you don't like it, you don't care. We're going to cover it up anyway. There we go. Maybe there's going to be a second one here that's a little shorter, a little rounder. I don't know. Let's just drop something in there. Ooh, my favorite little bit. A little bit of mist that we're just going to hang on to there. Okay. Every little tap just puts in hundreds and hundreds of leaves. Something like that. All right. Now let's think about this cabin. Our cabin here, brown with a little dark sienna. Let's just pull that out really flat. Well, we got a lot of rolls of paint to work with now. Okay. Now the trick with cabins is try to mess with it as little as possible. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and just touch and pull in. About, oh, maybe it's like just a little over a knife width wide or long, something like that. So, this is going to be a big cabin, so I'm going to pull that in like that. That's my eave. This little bit here. Let's see here. Sort of match that angle a little bit. Tell you what, I can tell this is going to be a bigger cabin, so let's make it a little longer. Okay. Just to sketch out, somewhat sketch out, let's just put in a little pull there. This is like frosting a cake. Just trying to line these lines up here so it doesn't look too dilapidated. Something like that. Make a little back corner there. A decent start. Now I meant for this tree to be in front of it here. It still can be, but look at that. I covered most of it up. That's okay. We're not finished yet. We're gonna get some paint here on the front. This will be on the face of the cabin. Sort of mooshing that in. All we're really focusing on is making this dark so that the highlights will stand out. Okay, we'll do our little cabinectomy in a little bit. So we'll take a little bit of dark sienna and titanium white. Let's see here. Sometimes you got to clean things up here. I'm going to pull that even a little bit. Just the angles a little touch. Try to make this top taller than the back. That'll help it look a little more cabiny. That's a word, right? Cabin-like, cabiny. Either way. All right, so a little bit of white, dark sienna. I'll line it up there, find my angle, and just glaze that knife. And it starts to take on the appearance of old boards. The more you go over it, the more it mixes with that brown that's underneath. So you start to lose it. Start to lose it, like I just did here. You might need to come in and redefine your eve a little bit. There you go. And then with a little bit of brown added into that highlight color, so it's not as bright, we'll put a little bit of highlight down here in the back. This isn't catching too much light there. There we go. And let's see here, with a little bit of a straight Van Dyke brown, very small roll. Just gonna touch little indications of boards here on the front. Old weathered boards. And even a couple here on the back. And we see them here and there. Okay. And we'll take a little bit of the bright red, touch of the brown, very little, just a couple of streakers, bright red and brown, cut off a nice small roll of color. Very light touch. Just let it skim. This is like that snow on the mountain. Just glaze it. See, that brown kind of catches it here and there and gives a little indication of highlight. And then maybe just a touch of the titanium or liquid white. Liquid white happens really quick. You got to be careful there. Just a thin line. Right on top of the eave. Maybe on the front if you like. I'll create a little definition there. You can even drop one across the top. Help square it off a little bit. Now I think I have just enough on here. Always stop and get more if you need it. Which I might just do. I want this door to be dark. If I have a little too much dark sienna in there, it's just not going to look like a dark door. So a little bit more of the dark brown in it. Get a nice roll of color. I touch and pull. Get a nice little doorway there. Now with a touch of the liquid white on the edge of the knife, you can create a little outline. Okay. Makes a nice little cabin. Let's trim off this cabin here. Find the right angles. Doesn't need to be perfectly plumb. We're going to come back and put some stuff in and around it. We're about ready to do that. Let's first take our little knife here and add some of that pinkish dark sienna color. Clean up the front side. There we go. Get a little bit darker stuff here. And clean up that backside a little bit. Now we'll come back in here with our foliage. Let's just drop some in here. Oh, there we go. We've got a bush here. We got one behind and we got this whole mass in front. What do you say? Love it. All right, let me clean up this 1-inch brush here. Get that off to the side. Now, I think we will highlight this guy here. So I'm going to clean off my 1-inch brush. It's going to use yellow, but you know what? I think I'm going to stick with how Bob did it here and stick with more of these sort of autumny colors for the big old tree. We got some bushes and stuff we can do with all our yellow colors. So why not have both? So a little bit more of the red, I think. I'm running low on this. That was a lot. That's probably why I'm running so low. I keep putting so much out on the palette. So just a hint, a whisper of mineral spirits. Let's see if this works. We can always add a little bit more. Lots of color up on the brush. Some color. Just going to lightly touch. Okay. We want to thin it down so it comes off with a light touch, but we don't want to make soup. And we're going to try to have a little bit of separator there so that it doesn't blend in too much with the roof. There we go. I like that. Nice. Super bright. All right, now that we got that laid out, I'm going to clean out my 1-inch brush. And I think we're going to make ourselves a lovely shade of green, yellowish green. So, a little bit of a liquid white. Start pulling it through our colors here. Come over here and get a good bit of the sap green. Fluttering the color on the brush. Let's come up here and one little clump at a time. What I find here, if the paint gets a little too flat on the palette, it makes it difficult to load. So I gather it up. I want to see this texture on the palette. That way it comes off just right. We do a little section, reload. Do a little section, reload. Come back here and get a little bit more yellow. We want to change up the flavor a little bit, make it a little brighter. I don't really want to lighten it up, so I use the paint thinner very sparingly. And that way it'll thin the color without, lightening it to white. Okay, we got another little section here. So change the color a little bit. Leave a little dark separator back here. And maybe there's even something right there. A little guy. Something hanging out right there. Okay. Whoop. Once I have that in there, I'm going to come back to that grass color. It's a little greener, a little darker. Let's just put a little bit of grass in front of these bushes here. Maybe there's a touch, just a touch. It's a little dark reflection right there. A little reflection of these things, these little highlights. With a feather touch. Let some of those grays down. There we go. All right, maybe with our small knife here and a little bit of our pinkish dark sienna color, let's put in a little land right here. Rubbing at it, get some of it to go in. It's all just mellow. All right. And then with our liquid white, got a little stain to it, but mostly liquid white. Let's create a little waterline right there. A little, almost like a little inlet, lack of a better term. Let's get just a little more liquid white. Like this foliage just comes right down to the water, huh? If you wanted it to have a little land in there first, we could have put that in before. Or you can always drop a little something in there, just a little indication of some stuff. A little bead of white there. Wow, we got something happening, huh? One little final highlight here and there, back on this dirt. It's overgrown, whatever it is. Ooh, I like that. You can easily overdo it, that's for sure. So be gentle with it. Here and there, that makes sense for it to have a little bright spot. Got some dark spots, we have a couple of bright spots. A couple of ripples here and there. What the heck, huh? Not a bad effort, I must say. Let's take. I like it. That's always nice. Hopefully you guys like it and caught a tip or two. I'm gonna put a little signature down there. I always love it when Bob says signature. But sometimes when I see this, I put my signature in there, and then I come back and add a couple extra details. See, you can do that. A couple extra bright bits in our grass. If you think they're gonna stand out and do something for you, you go right ahead and do that. I get carried away with it sometimes. That's why I try not to keep messing with it for too long. I think that'll about do it, folks. All right, that is painting number 2 today. I hope you caught a tip or two, had a good time either way. I'll see you in the next video.